feel like it's time for us to have a deeper talk than normal. Normally at the beginning of every season, there's a part where I scream at everybody, if you don't think you got a #1 car, you shouldn't be here.
For a decade, Big Chief was the undisputed king of the streets. He was the face of Street Outlaws, the guardian of a brotherhood that claimed to be tighter than blood. But that unity was a lie. When he suddenly vanished from the show, fans were left with nothing but rumors. Now, Chief is breaking his silence. He is naming the 5 racers from Street Outlaws he hated the most. And his confession proves that the war behind the scenes was far more dangerous than the racing. The truth about why he burned those bridges will change how you watch the show forever. Justin Shearer was born on December 9th, 1980 in Louisville, Kentucky. He wasn't born a TV star, but a kid who pumped gas and dreamed of going fast, learning the mechanics of speed in the dust and heat of the Midwest. He worked at a service station, where he watched the local legends cruise by, soaking up the knowledge of engines and nitrous oxide like it was holy scripture. He built his first car, the Crow, not with sponsorship money, but with blood and sweat, scavenging parts and working double shifts to afford a set of tires. This environment of authentic hustle instilled in him a deep respect for the code, a set of unwritten rules that govern the streets. The code said you didn't race for cameras, you raced for cash. It said you didn't create fake drama, you settled your beef at the starting line. It said that a race was a test of man and machine, not a plot point in a script written by a producer in Los Angeles who had never smelled burning rubber. When Street Outlaws premiered in 2013, it promised to show this world to the masses, and for a while, it did. Chief was the race master, the gatekeeper who ensured that the list remained pure and that the fastest cars stayed on top. He believed he could use the platform to elevate the sport, to show the world that street racers weren't criminals, but engineers and athletes pushing the limits of physics. He wanted to legitimize the hustle, to show the artistry behind the outlaw image. But as the ratings grew, so did the interference. The network realized that racing wasn't enough. They needed villains and heroes and cliffhangers to keep the casual viewers watching. They started manipulating the list, creating rivalries where there were none, and protecting drivers who were good for TV but bad for racing. They would ask drivers to reshoot arguments, to fake anger, to pretend they hated their best friends for the sake of a storyline. The code was being rewritten by executives who had never changed a spark plug in their lives, and Chief found himself fighting a losing battle to keep the soul of the 405 alive. He watched as the brotherhood he had built was dismantled by ego and greed, replaced by a cast of characters who were more interested in selling t-shirts and energy drinks than winning races. This betrayal of the culture he loved was the origin of the split. It planted a seed of resentment that would grow with every season, until it became a forest of thorns that choked out his passion for the show. By 2017, the show had become a juggernaut, but for Chief, it had become a circus. The producers were constantly pushing for more conflict, more shouting matches, and more manufactured drama that had nothing to do with the cars. They introduced the mega race concept, pitting the 405 against Richard Rawlings of Fast and Loud, a move that Chief saw as the ultimate sellout. Rawlings wasn't a street racer. He was a branding expert, a guy who put his logo on tequila bottles and energy drinks and acted like a cowboy. To Chief, racing him was an insult to the sport, a gimmick designed to boost ratings for a failing network. He hated the idea of turning his life's work into a sideshow for a guy who cared more about his hair than his horsepower. He saw it as a dilution of everything the 405 stood for, a mockery of the danger they faced every time they lined up on an unprepped road. This tension exploded during the filming of the Mega Race special. Chief clashed with the producers and with Rawlings, refusing to play the part of the compliant reality star. He wanted to race his way, with his rules, but the machine was too big to stop. He realized that he wasn't the race master anymore. He was just a puppet in a suits game. He was being told who to race, when to race, and how to act, stripping him of the autonomy that defined his life as an outlaw. It was during this time that the cracks in his relationships with the other drivers began to widen into canyons. The pressure of the show turned friends into rivals, not on the street, but for screen time. Drivers who used to help each other in the pits were now stabbing each other in the back in the confessionals, reading lines fed to them by producers who wanted to spice up the episode. One of the primary targets of Chief's frustration was James Reaper Goad. Reaper wasn't just a rival, he was the embodiment of everything Chief hated about the new direction of the show. Reaper was loud, abrasive, and constantly stirring up trouble that felt forced and fake. He accused Chief of rigging the list and protecting his friends, allegations that struck at the core of Chief's integrity. But what Chief hated most was that Reaper seemed to be playing a character, a wrestling heel designed to get hate clicks and views. It wasn't about who had the faster car, it was about who could yell the loudest. This wasn't street racing, it was Real Housewives with turbochargers. Chief felt that guys like Reaper were making a mockery of the sport, turning it into a joke for casual viewers who didn't know a piston from a pedal. Every time Reaper opened his mouth, Chief felt the legitimacy of the show slip further away. Then there was the issue of AZN and Farm Truck. While Chief respected their hustle, he felt that their segment of the show, the fishing for races with the dung beetle and the farm truck, was becoming a caricature. It was comedy, not racing. It was entertaining, sure, but it diluted the seriousness of the list. Chief wanted the 405 to be feared as the fastest crew in the nation. But it was hard to be feared when your teammates were racing grandmas in a grocery getter. The show was splitting into two realities: the serious racers who spent every dime on their cars, and the TV stars who were there to be funny. Chief was stuck in the middle, trying to hold it all together while the ground crumbled beneath his feet. He felt like he was the only one who still remembered the code, the only one who still cared about the integrity of the race. He was fighting a war on two fronts, against the other cities who wanted to beat them, and against his own producers who wanted to turn them into clowns. The breaking point came in 2022 with the introduction of the Race Your Way In rules for America's List. The production company decided to change the format, allowing anyone to challenge for a spot on the list, regardless of their history or their car's capability. To Chief, this was the final nail in the coffin. It meant that the list, the sacred hierarchy that they had bled for, was now meaningless. He tried to fight it. He argued with the producers, explaining that this would destroy the legitimacy of the 405. He told them that you can't just let anyone walk in off the street and race the kings. You have to earn it. He argued about safety, about the logic of the rules, about the respect for the sport, but they didn't listen. They wanted chaos. They wanted upsets. They wanted good TV. They changed the starting procedures, moving from the traditional flashlight start to a chases a race format, or other gimmicks that favored luck over skill. Chief saw this as a bastardization of street racing. It removed the element of driver skill and replaced it with a lottery. He realized that the show was no longer documenting a sport, it was inventing a game show. So, Big Chief did the unthinkable. He walked away. He didn't make a big announcement, he didn't film a dramatic exit scene, he just didn't show up. He refused to participate in a system that he felt was rigged. He left millions of dollars on the table, a move that baffled his fans and infuriated the network. He chose his principles over his paycheck, a decision that is almost unheard of in the world of reality TV. For months, the show tried to pretend he didn't exist. They scrubbed him from the promotional materials. They edited around him. They tried to elevate other drivers to take his place as the face of the franchise. But the fans noticed. The ratings dropped. The soul of the show was gone. The comment sections were filled with people asking, "Where is Chief?" and accusing the show of being boring without him. During this time, Chief went silent. He didn't do interviews, he didn't go on podcasts. He retreated to his shop, Midwest Street Cars, and focused on building his new car and reconnecting with his family. He was healing from the trauma of living a lie for 10 years. He was rediscovering the joy of building a car not for a deadline, but for speed. He spent time with his kids, realizing how much he had missed while chasing fame. But the silence couldn't last forever. When Big Chief finally broke his silence on his YouTube channel and podcast, he didn't hold back. He unleashed a decade of pent-up frustration, naming names and detailing the specific betrayals that led to his exit. He confirmed what many fans had suspected. The Brotherhood was a myth. First on his list of grievances was the production team itself, specifically the Pilgrim Media Group. He described them as manipulators who viewed the racers as lab rats in a maze. He detailed how they would force drivers to wait for hours in the freezing cold just to get a shot of them looking angry. He explained how they would change the rules of the race at the last minute to favor a specific outcome. They weren't partners, they were captors who held the keys to their careers. Then he turned his sights on the drivers who he felt had betrayed the code. He spoke about Chuck Seitzinger, a driver who had been with him from the beginning. Chief felt that Chuck had become too comfortable with the TV fame, prioritizing his screen time over the integrity of the race. He felt that Chuck was willing to play the game that production wanted, becoming a company man rather than an outlaw. Chuck was the guy who would stir the pot because he knew it would get him airtime, and Chief saw that as a betrayal of their roots. He also addressed the tension with Ryan Martin. Ryan was the new king, the guy with the fastest car and the biggest budget. While Chief respected Ryan's ability, he felt that the money had changed the dynamic. Ryan represented the new era of street racing, professional, corporate, and polished. Chief represented the old school, gritty, garage-built, and raw. It was a clash of philosophies that couldn't be reconciled. Ryan was winning with a car that cost more than most people's houses, and to Chief, that wasn't street racing. That was pro-mod racing on a road. But the most heartbreaking revelation was his feeling of isolation from Murder Nova, Sean Ellington. Sean was his best friend, his brother in arms. They had started the podcast together. They had built the shop together. But as the show went on, they drifted apart. Sean wanted to build his own brand, separate from Chief. He wanted to do his own thing. Chief described a feeling of being left behind, of realizing that the person he trusted most was moving in a different direction. It wasn't a hateful breakup, but it was a tragic one. The show had driven a wedge between them that money couldn't fix. The phantom of their friendship haunted the shop, a reminder of what they had lost in the pursuit of fame. Sean was making moves to secure his own future, and Chief felt that the loyalty they once shared had been diluted by the business of being famous. He also called out the Memphis Street Outlaws, specifically J.J. DeBoss. Chief felt that the spin-off shows were diluting the brand, turning street racing into a carnival act. He saw J.J.'s arm drop starts and hustling as a different sport entirely, one that lacked the precision and the science of the 405's list. The story of Big Chief's departure is a vindication for every fan who felt that Street Outlaws had lost its way. He confirmed that our instincts were right. The drama was fake, the fights were staged, and the brotherhood was broken. He proved that integrity has a price, but it's a price worth paying. By walking away, he saved his reputation as a real racer. He showed that he couldn't be bought, and he couldn't be controlled. He went back to the streets, back to the garage, back to the life that made him happy before the cameras showed up. He is still racing, but he is doing it on his own terms. He is posting videos on his own channel, building cars the way he wants, and interacting with fans without a producer whispering in his ear. He is free from the golden trap. The 405 continues on TV, but it feels like a ghost town without its sheriff. The ratings have never recovered. The show feels hollow, a shell of its former self. It turns out that you can buy fast cars and expensive cameras, but you can't buy the authenticity that Justin Shearer brought to the screen. So, we are left to ask ourselves if we would have had the strength to walk away from the money to save our soul. Would we have stayed and played the game, or would we have burned the contract and driven off into the night? Perhaps the greatest lesson Big Chief taught us wasn't about how to tune a car, but about how to drive your own life. What do you think about Big Chief's blacklist? Do you agree with his reasons for leaving, or do you think he let his ego get in the way of a good thing? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next deep dive into the hidden truths of reality TV. Thanks for watching.